Commander Tonight here with another Topic of the Week video. This week I'll be talking about Harry Potter, more specifically about Ginny and her romance with Harry. This week I'll actually have two topics. The first one was submitted by sozo-ryokuartist, and they asked, what was your issue regarding Ginny's character in the Harry Potter books and her romance with Harry? And the second one was submitted by Tumblr Anon, and their topic was, how terribly Harry and Ginny's supposed romance was written. They're both pretty much asking about the same thing. So I decided to do both in one. Now, I don't particularly have a big issue with Ginny throughout most of the books. When she's first introduced in the first book, she's literally just there for like one scene. She's there when Harry meets her, and he meets Ron's whole family on the train platform, and they help him get to platforms 9 3/4. But she doesn't really do anything. She's just like, and that's pretty much it. In the second book, she plays a pivotal role in the plot, being the one to find Tom Riddle's journal, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Everyone knows the plot of Chamber of Secrets. That also established that she sort of had this, was sort of like crush on Harry. All right, you know what? She's 11, he's 12. He's basically a celebrity. I've said it before, but Ginny basically had a celebrity crush on Harry. This is, in fact, never developed. In fact, it just kind of disappears as far as I'm aware. It's been a while since I read the books. The last time I read a book was right before The Half-Blood Prince came out, and I reread The Half-Blood Prince, which is a big mistake, because that movie was awful. Worse than the book. But, the thing with Ginny is that she does almost nothing for most of the series. In books 3, 4, and 5, she's there and she's like doing stuff, but she's not really all that important. You could swap her out with anyone and nothing would really change. It's only in book 6 and it's just like, oh hey, and then she's just making out with Harry. It's like, what? It's one of the biggest issues is that she's just not memorable. I honestly, I've talked to other people about this, and no one can really remember stuff about Ginny, because she was a super vanilla character. The only time I remember having any character was in the Chamber of Secrets, and she was 11 in that. I remember her dating some guys in Half-Blood Prince, but other than that, I don't think J.K. Rowling ever did anything with her character. It's just that all of a sudden in book 6, she and Harry are making out, and they're like a couple, and then it's just like, where did this come from? There's no basis for that relationship, and it's like, it almost feels like Naruto, It felt like how, Kishimoto thought that Kishimoto thought that Sakura had to keep her crush on Sasuke, and Hinata had to keep her crush on Naruto forever, or else they're bad people. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that Ginny had a crush on her brother's best friend, and there's hardly any mention of it made throughout the series, and all of a sudden they're in love. Okay, you know what? You jumped from point A to point Z, like, without ever touching anything in between. And what's really sad about this is that you can actually tell that J.K. Rowling did have some ideas, and then ditched them for some stupid idea, probably to make sure that Harry was a Weasley. I actually looked back and saw that Harry's crush on Cho was actually established all the way back in book 3, in The Prisoner of Azkaban. He met her in the Quidditch field. And then he had an outright open crush on her in the 4th book when she was dating Cedric. And then in the 5th book, she and him sort of hooked up, and then she got mad and left forever. And I don't believe she's even mentioned, let alone shown throughout the rest of the books. A lot of writers need to realize, and I think I mentioned this before with I think it was my Where J.K. Rowling Went Wrong with the Series video, that when you're writing, you can have a lot of plans, But if you're not completely sticking to a plan to develop things in a certain way, a certain series of events, in exactly the way you planned it, and you're kind of riding by the seat of your pants, you have to be open to fluctuation. You have to be open to change. You have to recognize that sometimes original ideas you had aren't going to work. And I am sure that early on in the writing process for the series, J.K. Rowling did have an idea of Harry getting with Ginny. That may have been why she introduced the whole crush on him in the first place. I don't know, and I don't trust J.K. Rowling to give us a straight answer about that. Oh yes, I had it planned the entire time. Cho was just a red herring. But when when you have an end game romance, you need to develop it. At the very least, you need to develop the relationship, whether it's a friendship, usually as a friendship, to make sure it's strong enough that people can say, all right, you know what, I can see them becoming lovers after that. But if you develop someone else with that level, and then you toss someone else in at the last minute and be like, oh yeah, that's what I meant the whole time, you're not fooling anyone. Cho's, you can actually see Harry's relationship with Cho grow. They actually do connect quite a bit when it comes to especially the death of Cedric, how, Harry does feel very responsible for Cedric's death, and he does feel, he felt like, he really bonded with Cedric over the course of the Triwizard Tournament. So, they both feel, sad about Cedric's death. And it's like, and it's developed. We actually see them working together. Harry teaches her in the room of requirement for Dumbledore's army and stuff, and you can see this developing up until the point when they kiss in the room of requirement. That's great. Honestly, you started off in the third book so that you have the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh book to develop a potential relationship. So she develops this, starts in the third book, goes to the fourth book, basically goes head first in the fifth book, and then cuts it short. And that sounds so much like a writer regretting what they were writing, that it's, honestly, it almost does remind me of, Kishimoto and how he wrote Naruto. It's like, oh, yeah, you know what? I may have been developing Naruto's relationship with Sakura, but he's actually been in love with Hinata the entire time, because she had a crush on him. There's this disconnect, and you've been developing one relationship for this time, and then you throw in someone who had a crush on them before, but you never really developed them that strongly. And it's actually, I would say it's almost worse for Harry Potter, honestly, because at least as far as I know, Hinata and Naruto were at least friends. And then I just remember Harry and Ginny just being around each other, and I don't really remember any strong connection. I think it was actually hinted more in the movies than it was in the books, because the movies did try to help along with that, but the Harry Potter books after the third one are just so poorly written, especially in the sixth book. But it's like you're trying to fill in this relationship, and ultimately the problem here is that she developed Cho's relationship with Harry, and then had her friend betray them, and then had Cho side with her friend for one, logical reasons, and two, illogical reasons. Because, okay, Hermione cast a charm on the contract that everyone signed that made it so that if you did betray them, you had, I think it was sneak or snitch written across your face in pimples or something, or scars or marks or whatever, and apparently it was permanent, which is something that Hermione is never punished more, and I don't even think anyone goes, wow, that's a little extreme. I think Cho's the only one who goes, what the hell? And then secondly, she sides with her friend who is betraying her as well, who does kind of deserve it. So you actually have this weird thing, and it felt so hastily slapped together. Like, oh no, I need a reason to get Cho out of here so Harry can get with Ginny. And it's like, even though I always shipped Cho and Harry as a kid, I would have been fine with Harry and Ginny if it was developed properly. If you spend the third book having Harry start to realize, Ginny's kind of cute, and then the fourth book being like, okay, you know what, I guess I like her, but he didn't get to her because other guys were asking her to the Yule Ball first, and then in the fifth book they connect in the Room of Requirement. Okay, you know what, I'm totally cool with that. But she didn't do it. She did it with Cho. So you have this relationship that pops up in the last 2 books. And I don't get it. What is it with these writers trying to shove these romances? You know what? You're better off not shoving romance in. If you can't write a romance, if you don't have a clue of what you're doing, don't go out of your way to state who got with who. Really, don't do it. This is one of the problems with J.K. Rowling. And I did talk about this in a little bit with Punk Rockula in my Draco and Slytherin video. That, she had Draco get with this random woman who her parents didn't like because they're wizard supremacists. And the cursed child, she's this frail and soft woman. Though I don't think we should take any of that seriously. You have these people getting with random people, and if it doesn't make any sense, just don't do it. We didn't need it 19 years later. All we needed was Harry beat Voldemort. Woo yeah, we win. And then you can just leave it at that. Leave the potential romances up in the air if you don't really know what you're doing. And I don't get these writers. It's like, okay, if you want these romances, develop them. I mean, hell, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm not the biggest fan of all the canon romances. The only 2 that I like are Sokka and Suki and... Oh, no, wait, no, that is the only one. That's the only actual canon in-game romance that I actually did like. The other ones I'm mad on, but they were developed. And they built up, at the very least, over the course of a season. If, for stuff like Katang, it was built up over 3 seasons. So, I'm cool with them, even though I don't particularly like them, I'm cool with them because they were written well. But when you have this, you have a series, and J.K. Rowling knew how long this series was going to be. She knew it was going to be 7 books. So there's no excuse of, well, I didn't know what I was going to do. No, you knew exactly what you were going to do. And any good writer, at the very least, has an idea of how they're going to plot their series out. I mean, if I was writing Harry Potter, and I had okay, there are 7 years in the school, so there would be 7 books, each covering a different year in Harry's, school years. I would at the very least have an idea if I'm going to do that in this book, and this, and that book. And I'm going to do that for each of these books, and I want to have certain things happen, and I want to have X relationships develop over the course of a series, whether they're small or they're main characters. And to be perfectly honest, even stuff like Ron and Hermione, I don't really remember that being developed so much. But I'd have to go back and reread the books specifically, because I remember liking it when I was a kid, but looking back, I'm just like, I'm not the biggest fan. But really, the worst part about the romance is that it's rushed. If Harry and Cho weren't going to get together, and they weren't going to even leave it a possibility that they were, at the very least, and even 2 books. It's like, and even then, the most of the brunt of their development came from, the Half-Blood Prince, because Deathly Hallows should have been named Harry Potter and the Extended Camping Trip, because they're not on Hogwarts when that goes down. So I don't even believe he talks to Ginny all that much in that book anyway, outside of maybe a couple parts. It's just 1 book, and basically the brunt of that development is, oh, hey, by the way, I've always liked you. Let's make out. Too many writers try to write romance when they clearly have no clue what they're doing. And what sucks is they usually have some good relationships on their hands, like Harry and Cho. Or, hell, I would have preferred, Harry and Luna to Harry and Ginny. At least Luna had a personality. And you know, this is the problem, is that these writers don't know what the hell they're doing. If you can't write romance, don't write romance. Just say that side character, that side character are together, or whatever. Don't try to make the main characters. Don't try to write a relationship with the main character if you obviously don't know what you're doing, or get cold feet and don't want to dedicate yourself to a thing. Just don't do it. That's the biggest problem when it comes to romances with Harry Potter. You get some nice ones, and I will say there are some nice ones. Stuff like Fleur and Bill. I think it was Bill. Yeah, Fleur and Bill. You had Lupin and Tonks, and stuff like that. Actually, it's kind of cute. Too bad she killed Lupin and Tonks off screen without any explanation. I'm still bitter about that. But it's like you have some of these side relationships with minor characters, and I like those, and those are fine because hey, you know what, that's kind of cute, but they're not really main characters. And Harry Potter being the main character, being the titular main character, if you're going to write a romance for him, you better write this good, or else you're going to come across as it's going to come across as crap, which is how Harry and Ginny's relationship did. And obviously, it just felt like such an awkward and clumsy ploy to make sure that he was married into the Weasley family, when, goodness gracious, he was already considered part of the Weasley family. That's really the problem. No development with Harry and Ginny's relationship. The development that we do see is rushed and makes almost no logical sense. And then the relationship that was the most developed over the course of 3 books, his relationship with Cho, is cast aside and she's never seen or heard from again. So, if that's not the mark of a writer trying to push something specific, trying to push an agenda, I don't know what is. Because that makes no sense. You don't have Harry's crush last 3 books, up until them actually, kissing, only to cut it all short and be like, yeah, nothing ever happens. By the way, that was a complete waste of a subplot. J.K. Rowling should have just left romances alone. To be perfectly honest, she probably should have just left writing alone, but I digress. Anyway, that's it for today's topic. If you want to check out last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to check out next week's topic video, I'll put that up here when I get that done. If you want to submit a topic to me, you can just make sure you follow the rules that I'll post down below. Make sure that you can submit it on my Tumblr by sending me an ask and doing the topic, and then whatever topic you want me to talk about. You can also send me a topic on YouTube by simply commenting below about what you want me to talk about. Just make sure that you are following the rules that I have and making it so it's something fictional, about a movie, about a TV show, about a video game, whether it's something that's in the story, or hell, even game mechanics and stuff like that. I'm open to a lot of stuff. Just make sure that it's about something that's fictional, that's, stuff like that. Anyway, thank you for watching today's video.